Okay, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Search Accelerator, Get More Engagement Faster on Google. Today we'll be talking about our latest Reputation.com solution, Search Accelerator. Now, Search Accelerator is an invaluable way to boost and manage Google search performance across paid search, organic search, and maps. Just a couple of pieces of housekeeping for you. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a number of options on Zoom to get in touch with us throughout the webinar. At the end, we have assigned some time for a Q&A session, and we'll be using the Q&A option for that. But for most of you who want to get in touch throughout the session, you can use the chat option. We'll be able to pick it up a lot quicker for you. Today's webinar should last for 30 minutes. Okay, so let's get introduced. My name is Chris. I work in the marketing department for Reputation.com's European operations. Today, I'm joined by Scott Campbell-Quinn. Now, Scott is a highly experienced enterprise sales manager here at Reputation.com. He's got a number of years' experience joining online reputation management with enterprise-level brands of 77 different industries that Reputation.com work with. Prior to Reputation.com, Scott held a number of roles, including 5 years at Google, so he's the ideal person to present today's webinar and answer any questions you may have at the end. So with that in mind, let's get started, and I'll pass you over to Scott to begin.
Thanks very much, Chris. Good morning, everyone, and thanks very much for taking the time out today to join this webinar. It's a pleasure to walk everyone through my thoughts around Search Accelerator, and I'll do my best to convey pretty much how we, what we've experienced in the online reputation management world and how that works in conjunction with Google and complementing everything that you're already doing in search as a business. So with that in mind, we'll just show you the agenda for today. We've got, as Chris said, 30 minutes to walk everyone through this. So we've broken it down in these sections. So first, we want to just speak about Google and why it matters. Then we want to go into some user habits and trends off the back of that. So what are users, how are they behaving? And then get into the nuts and bolts around Search Accelerator and talk a little bit around how we can maximize what you're doing in search. And then we'll hold a Q&A session afterwards for about 10 minutes or so. Great. So Google matters, right? So as Chris mentioned there, my background is very much digital. I worked in the Google Premier Partnership for just under 5 years. So I've got a good amount of experience of how to win in search, I guess. I moved to Reputation.com just under a couple of years ago now because of the online reputation management space. So I was just fascinated by it, and I knew how much ORM, online reputation management, held in terms of weight in relation to maximizing your overall digital strategy, because I started to see key accounts at Google diversify their budgets into ORM solutions and software. So Google is obviously king. It's where it's at. We all want our business locations to rank as highly as possible in the SERP, and we also want to display the best possible representation. So just quickly touch on our relationship. I think it's worth sharing that we have at Reputation.com with Google. It's truly unique today, and the reason why it is unique is because we are the only platform globally now to have full GSR accreditation, so Google Seller Ratings accreditation and the offering, and also have the private Google API. And we'll talk a little bit about that today and what that means. But it basically means we have vast capabilities around various functionalities on helping our clients win in search. Google love our relationship that we have with them, and it's the same vice versa. We help Google, and Google helps us. So Google wants its users to be able to find businesses, understand the right data on those businesses, and we just help enterprise level clients scale that data out. So we're basically complementing everything that Google does. And again, we'll elaborate on that today over the next 20 minutes or so. So ultimately, you guys will know this and appreciate this. You know, customers, consumers today are gravitating towards maps, listings, search, and social to find a product or service that they have in mind. So you can see here, be found, chosen, and endorsed on Google. So there are multiple channels. So whether that's consumers looking at reviews of a business, whether that's consumers looking at the star rating in specifically, maps, your Google Ads profiles, they're utilizing Q&A functionality on Google My Business page, whatever it may be, at reputation.com, we're best in class in maximizing your business across all of these channels. So those of you that are familiar with us at reputation.com will know that we have one platform that drives visibility, engagement, and customer experience across all of these different channels. Today, we're obviously walking through Search Accelerator and how we're complementing what you're doing in search, or can complement what you're doing in search. But feel free to tap back into us and reach out for you know, additional demos, and we'd be delighted to walk you through the platform overview as well, so that we can break it down for you in another conversation. So looking at Google specifically, it's a massive lead generation tool for all of your businesses. I think everyone knows that, it's pretty clear. The UK search volume of traffic is focused around Google, over 92% now. So for us and you guys as our clients and businesses out there, this presents a massive engine which is there to be utilized. How do we generate the most leads, conversions out of Google? So that's the golden question, right? And a lot of it starts here on this slide, which you may well be familiar with. So we can see here on the right-hand side, there is a chart displaying the ranking factors of the Google algorithm in local search. So there are many different ranking factors, right? There are 400 updates a year to the Google algorithm, a lot of which we don't actually get to understand. But the core updates we do understand, and being so close with Google, we actually learn the insight of these algorithm updates, specifically in search, around online reputation management and how we can help influence and impact that. We understand the insight in real time, if you like. But for now, we're looking at a few different ranking factors, what I would say are core ranking factors. So you can see there on-page optimization at 13.82%. You can see link acquisition. You know, these pieces are huge parts of SEO. So I'm sure you guys have all got different strategies running that will be based around SEO, or wonderful strategies around SEO, pay-per-click, and so on. But what amazes me here is how GMB has risen to hold over 25% weight in the ranking factor of the Google algorithm. So Google understands and makes these decisions based on insight and data. So it understands that users are now utilizing GMB more and more to find a product or service. So it's a good idea to really focus on GMB for obvious reasons in that respect, because you know, having your data clean, accurate, comprehensively filled out with all the data points for your customers to refer to really helps the customer. But it really helps you guys as a business as well, because it helps you guys rank and have greater visibility. So Google crawls your website, it crawls your location pages, your dealership pages if you're an auto business, you know, your restaurant pages if you're in hospitality, whatever it may be. Google will search and crawl your pages. And it's very important to hold the right data. So mirroring the data on your website information on GMB is crucial. So GMB is super important. The other red component is reviews. Reviews are getting bigger and more important all the time. So again, Google is a trust engine. Google wants to work with the user, wants to make the user's life easier for obvious reasons. So Google is, again, tapping back into insight and data, can see how much reviews are being depended on by consumers when they're trying to make a decision on who they go to for a particular product or service. So if you're a business and you're not responding to negative reviews, then it's going to negatively impact your ranking in respect of local search. You know, I know that if I'm about to buy a car and I go to a particular dealership as an example, and there are 6 negative reviews in the last 2 months that haven't been responded to, I will stay clear, as I'm sure most of you guys will as well. It's the same with a restaurant. You know, if I'm looking to book a nice location or a venue for a particular event, and I see a negative content that hasn't been responded to, I'll stay clear. So Google, in short, wants you to be understanding the review space more and more. It wants businesses and encourages businesses to understand their review sentiment. You know, what's going on? Are we monitoring this space? But not just across Google, across Facebook, across Trustpilot, across TripAdvisor. You know, it really helps to get a balanced approach to the review space. So monitoring them first and foremost, what's going on, responding to the reviews, super important, in good time, and requesting and generating fresh reviews continuously will stead you good for the future in local search. So I hope that makes sense. And I've broken that down to be able to, for you guys to be able to understand, but it's really important. So with that in mind, we'll move on to user habits. So again, this is a super important area, and it's really interesting, right? Because we had our recent update call with our Google product specialist team last week, actually. And it was just so interesting because they share insight with us, like I said, that helps you guys, that helps our customers, that helps our partnerships thrive. So, you know, what are the users doing, Google? Well, you know, users are becoming more curious, more demanding, and impatient all the time. You know, they want to know things fast. You know, they want to see what they're looking for or find what they're looking for fast, and they want it to be in the correct format and easy and everything else. So what do we need to do to prepare for that? Well, again, you know, this is directly from Google, so it's great insight. Businesses must tap into consumer or customer intent. So it's kind of obvious, right? We already know this, but when you break it down like this, for me, it really stands out. So be there. Knowing that customers are impatient, be there for your customers throughout the entire purchase journey. You know, from the very beginning where the intent is there. You know, the intent is there, who's about for this particular product or service. Let's get our GMBs in ship shape, Google My Business pages. You know, at the beginning of the user journey. Be valuable by offering meaningful experiences to reach your customers wherever they are, and be quick. So this is a great triangle in it, and it equates to business growth if you operate it in the right way. Focus on the user and all else will follow. You know, with all of this in mind, what are our users doing for our business? How are they finding our business? How would they like to find our business, but maybe we're not there with any profile yet? So it's about understanding these trends, these user habits, and I guess kind of evolving your business in the right way so that you can facilitate these channels and, you know, provide the service there for your customers. If we take examples like Toys R Us, we all know what happened there, and there's been quite a few examples on smaller scales over the last 36 months, really, where businesses just haven't transformed digitally in the right way. So, you know, we're starting this conversation off today around, look, business listings management, super important. Review management, super important. That's a great phase one, really, around online reputation management, to starting to understand and evolving around user habits. This is some great context to learn from. So we all know how much mobile is developing out. There's been a 50% increase in local mobile searches year on year. 1 in 5 searches on Google are related to a location. So if you've got locations, you're a location-focused business, you know, it's super important to maximize on that in the best possible way. And, you know, making sure your data is clean, making sure that you're responding to reviews. So at a local level, your business is really gleaming, I guess. You're carrying out the right practices. The majority of customers are finding businesses not by typing the business name, but by looking for a similar business in the area. So this is all around how do we win in search, you know? So it's super important to be doing everything you can to peak above your competition in the local pack. You know, work harder with reviews. How do we generate more reviews than our competitors? How do our response rates peak 90% higher than our competitors? How does our star average get higher than our competitors? So all these different things come into play. When searching for local information, consumers are looking after, kind of looking after two things. 33% of consumers or people look for business hours, and 27% are looking for reviews. So this is just in line with everything and the flow of this deck so far, you know, and looking at a phase 1 aspect of this project for you guys, business listings and reviews. In connection with this, 68% of consumers value the option to either call a business or interact with a business online on their smartphone. So on Google My Business, you'll be familiar with the various actions that are available in terms of click to call, click to website, click to directions. So how do we start utilizing these and understanding the value that these actions are bringing us? Empty listing versus complete listing. So again, I won't repeat what I've gone through over the last few slides. Super important to have a complete comprehensive listing, but 2.7 times more likely to consider reputable, 7 times more likely to generate clicks compared to an empty listing. Consumers are 70% more likely to attract location visits and 50% more likely to lead to a purchase. Some really powerful stats there, and I think this is something that you guys will all agree with. And again, this is the insight directly from Google in real time. So how do we do this? I just want to touch on this very quickly. How do we operate in respect of keeping your data where it needs to be on GMB? So we store a source of truth for you in the platform, reputation.com, and we utilize our APIs that we have with Google, but also with Facebook, Bing Places, Apple, and we keep your data clean and accurate. We audit the data continuously every 36 hours, and your data is kept clean and accurate across all of these environments and platforms. And that's a really quick summarization of how it works. But it's quite straightforward, and you know, the uplift in your visibility is significant. So look, Search Accelerator. So knowing that business listings is really important. How do we utilize reviews, your customer feedback? So the first thing to focus on is the private API that we have with Google. So basically what this is we have a private pipeline between reputation.com and Google, which gives us the capability to be able to turn all of your customer feedback into Google verified reviews. So we can even turn survey, and we'll touch on this again in a couple of slides time. We can turn simple pulse surveys into Google verified reviews without the customer having to rewrite the review again for a Google review, if that makes sense. So we start to push the star averages across paid search for pay-per-click, organic search, and map search. How this works, a quick summarization of review solicitation. You've got your customer relations management system in your business. We're taking that data, we're sending out survey requests to your customers in a natural way. Once they leave the NPS score as an example, and they leave some content, the next stage is turning that into a Google verified review where we ask their permission. So if yes, we've got a 2-step Google verified review generated off an NPS. So it's really clever. And we can then turn those Google verified reviews and drive them to GMB, top right, as you can see there, number 1. Number 2 in the map pack. Number 3 in your organic profiles. So we deploy review syndication widgets onto your website pages. And then we also push it number 4 into your GSR, so pay-per-click ads. So what you get is this profile here. So you can see top left paid search, below that organic search, and then on the right-hand side, GMB. So pretty powerful, right, as a representation of your business. And the uplift is significant, okay? So pay-per-click, number 1. I'm sure many of you are investing in pay-per-click strategies. This is a game changer, GSR, Google Seller Ratings. And quite simply, Google has seen an average uplift in CTR's click-through rate of 10%. So the knock-on effect that has on the rest of your campaign's performance is huge. Your quality score goes up, your click-through rate goes down, and ultimately your cost per conversion is decreased, which is what everyone wants. So it's a win. It's a win-win. Organically, we see a massive ROI increase in terms of the CTR and the cost per acquisition again, by just displaying your star rating and the organic profiling. And then with GMB again, the performance stats are glowing. So, you know, this is where we want to get your business. And by using Search Accelerator at reputation.com, we give you the power to do this. So just to break these down again in maybe a little bit more detail, with GSR, I think if you're not displaying GSR ads in your AdWords profiles, like these guys are here on this slide, you're really missing a trick, okay? So maybe start to think about and look at whoever's responsible in your business for managing AdWords, or whether that's external with an agency, what an increase in 10% in the CTR would yield. So you can then follow that through to all the performance metrics and channels and actually work out what that's worth to you in sort of, you know, in sterling, I guess, as a savings piece as well. So it really does boost the performance of your paid ads. GMB, you know, it's logical and now common knowledge and statistically proven to say that, you know, as we start to increase a business's star average on GMB or across the board, then it leads to a greater increase in revenue. One extra star in the right way positively can lead to a 9 to 12% increase in revenue annually for that location. So again, really powerful. And then surveys to your website. So what we can do here is we can build out the review widgets and work with you dynamically to have them implemented on your location pages within your website platform. So what this ultimately leads to is, as you can see there in the meta description, the star rating starts to appear. So this is building trust, it's building credibility, and ultimately increasing the performance of all of these areas. And we're not reinventing the wheel here. All we're doing is utilizing what would be customer feedback. So we're turning your customers into brand advocates and utilizing that feedback and positioning it in A1, you know, in the A1 place, that I would say, in all these environments. So just a quick summary on that. Again, you'll experience an increase in leads. So boost online leads by incenting clicks. So links have higher visibility, increased click-through rate as we've discussed. You'll increase revenue. So shoppers trust links with reviews, which we've discussed, which in turn leads to an increase in conversions, and qualified traffic, targeted traffic. And the bottom line is increased overall. So the ROI of this. So you can really measure the value that this is all going to bring to your business. And as I've said a number of times, we're simply complementing what you're doing. I guess where we are in the world of today with digital and Google, knowing how important reviews are, you know, your cost per acquisition case across all digital channels can never really be maximized unless you're trialing this and experiencing the results. Just before we jump into questions, I'm just going to wrap it up with this last slide around reputation score. So it's worth mentioning, those of you that aren't familiar with the reputation score, it's one of our core patents that we've recently received multiple awards for. Ultimately, we help you manage your online reputation across all of these different channels. As you can see there, it looks like a credit score, right? 0 to 1,000. So this is what really interests me, because we're able to monitor your business across all of the different areas that are important. So, for example, your listings. Are your listings accurate? You know, what's the star average on Trustpilot? What's the star average on AutoTrader? What's the star average on Google? What's your social impressions like? You know, how are you managing social? What's your NPS score on surveys? So it's all a customer experience piece. And this will require a separate demo, but I just wanted to leave you guys with that. And the biggest enterprises in the world now are using this as a core KPI within the business. And they can benchmark their reputation score of their locations alongside each other. So you've got a table like a league of who's got the best reputation score and why. And they're also benchmarking their reputation score alongside their top 3 to 5 competitors. So I'll pause now and refer to any questions that we may have. Thanks very much, everyone, for your time again, and I hope that was useful, and happy to catch up with you again if it's required.
Scott, thank you very much for that. So we've still got 4 or 5 minutes just before we hit the 30-minute threshold, so you can ask Scott now any questions that you may have related to any of the content that he's covered over the last 25 minutes or so. If you want to ask Scott any questions, you can do so at the bottom of your screen using Zoom's Q&A option. So we'll just put ourselves on mute for about 30 seconds and wait for any questions to come in, and then we'll take it from there and answer as many as we can before we run out of time. Okay, so we've had a couple of questions come in. Jordan, your question, I can answer that one instead of Scott. So later on today, we will send a recording of the session out to everyone who registered. So you will get a recording of the presentation, and hope that helps. Scott, first question for you says, are there any options for automated marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So automated functionality is something that we work closely with here. So a lot of our clients do like to sync up, and we integrate with their internal systems, their databases, their CRM systems. So in the event where you want everything automated as a workflow, for example, a customer could come into your business, a transaction could take place, that would then be populated in your CRM system, and that would then sync and update into the reputation.com platform, and automatically a review request would then go out from there. Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay, probably got time for one more question. This question comes from Jay. Jay asks, Scott, you just mentioned reputation score, and you mentioned how it's a KPI. In terms of how that figure from 0 to 1,000 is generated, what makes up that figure?
Okay, again, it's a great question. So the reputation score is made up of a number of core metrics in line with Google's required metrics, if that makes sense. So when I say that, I mean keeping your business listings data accurate. So, you know, as a percentage from 0 to 100, how accurate is your data on business listings profiles across GMB, your Facebook listing, Bing places? That would be one metric. The second metric might be your star average on review sites. The third metric can be your review volume. The next one could be your review recency, how fresh are your reviews. Another one is how diverse are you across all of the important platforms related to your business. So you're not just building and working on Google, you're working across Trustpilot, Facebook, TripAdvisor, and so on. Your social impressions, how good is your social strategy, and how heavy are your impressions in the SERP? There's quite a few other metrics, but ultimately we boil it down like this. It's your online reputation management. So wherever a customer may look for your business, we're shining. We're working on improving the representation. Your listings accuracy, your review profiling, and there are many other metrics in there. But it's, as a score, as I said, it really has taken off. And the vision for us really is for every business globally to have a reputation score. And it's really sort of, you know, it's moving aggressively in that direction.
Okay, thanks, Scott, and thanks everyone for those questions. So that just about wraps us up today. So as I mentioned before with Jordan's question, a recording of today's webinar will be available later on today, and we'll get that emailed out to you. If you do need to get in touch, you've got the contact details for the UK office below. And all that's left to say is thank you very much for registering and attending today's webinar, and we hope you found it interesting. Thank you.